So to show you how another method that has been used in the past to solve this basic mathematical issue in the kind of financial system, I'm going to introduce a new player, and that's government. So there they are. They're on a desert island, and they have the worker, manufacturer, the banker, and I don't know. Let's say somebody washes up, and they're a government official, an MP or something like that. And the government fellow said, let's have a government on this island. And up to this point, we've managed to crash the economy and run the economy and grow the economy reasonably well by using the two techniques I've shown you. But of course, I'll come back to the fixed asset thing because it kind of only works while you're building. So, but kind of once you've built all the railways and stuff, then you're in the problem. So we've crashed the economy twice, but it took a bit longer. Government turns up. Now, government can be utterly benign in this whole mathematical side of stuff. They've got other issues relating to government, good and bad. But in terms of the maths, they can be utterly benign. I'll show you the first instance where they're utterly benign and they don't make any difference at all. So you have the usual routine. You've got the banker, and he issues a loan of £100 loan, and that's the current account of the business, and that's nicely zero. And then the manufacturer, and he has £100 in the bank account now in his current account. Can't call that cash. That's current account in the bank rather than notes and coins, which are essentially irrelevant. I know a lot of people make a huge fuss about them, but I'll come on to show you why they're relevant later. Go run with that for the time being. And then they have this is the loan, the liability the manufacturer has. So you get the kind of the standard setup that we have. Now, when the manufacturer takes that cash and pays it to the workers, if the government decide to pop in and take some of that money in taxation off the manufacturer, we'll end up in a situation like this. The government will get, the government's balance sheet here, the government will get, I don't know, £10. Oh, for the days when the tax rate was only £10. It's like over 50% nowadays. Certainly the next pound you earn, there's problems with government in the system ultimately, but they have £10 in terms of cash, and the workers, again, so it's called like cash, because they've just taxed people, taxed the business, like PAYE. We'll call that the wealth of the government, that they will, to balance that up, similar to how we do it with the people. The workers, initially they have £90 because they're being taxed by the damn government. But if the government then take that £10 cash and, I don't know, spend it on, give it to soldiers on defence spending, or give it to pay, disabled people or pensioners, or if they kind of take the cash, the tax money that comes in at the same time on an in and out basis, then remember that I'll call these non-workers, NW for non-workers, and the non-workers will be given that £10 cash. They might be given government officials might just pay themselves. They tend to like to do that rather nicely. Nice salary, nice pension. It's a very governmental sort of thing to do. So the trick is, though, that with this is when you come to Saturday, the consumers will include these non-workers, and so the consumers will have the £100 to go and spend on the goods and services. So if the business, the manufacturer, is going to produce 83 units, the cost will include the taxation. So the cost of it will be £100, and the people, the consumers, which will be the workers and the non-workers who've received some sort of benefit from the government, or soldiers or whatever, teachers, whatever the government spends the money on, they'll be able to buy all of the stock of the manufacturer, £83 worth of stock at cost, plus the profit margin that the manufacturer adds on will ultimately come to be £100. They'll have to buy it, and then the manufacturer, he'll have £17 worth of fixed assets as well. Oh, forgot about the fixed assets, yeah. So, imagine it's a bit with the fixed assets. So basically, it'll be exactly the same as the previous situation, except instead of the £100 going directly to the workers, who then are the consumers, £90 gone to the workers, who are the consumers, and £10 gone to other consumers. And the net effect on the maths, in terms of the shortfall, would be no worse or no better than if there had not been the taxation. from a mathematical perspective, as it were. But let's see what then happens. You have the manufacturer, and this is another way to solve, and I use the word solve in inverted commas. You go back to square one again. The bank issues a loan for £100. That's a loan as an asset, current account as the liability, 00. And the manufacturer gets the £100, cash £100, and the loan, he's the same old there. And then what then happens is, Monday, that's as it were Monday morning. During the week, this balance sheet changes to let's say, for instance, this guy, forget the fixed assets for a bit, but we're not building fixed assets anymore. We're in the situation where the fixed assets are all built. He takes the £100 and he gives the £100 to the workers. So he now has the manufacturer now has stock of £100. He has a loan still of £100, and that's his balance sheet. The workers have got £100 in cash. They haven't been taxed this time, despite government lurking in the background, ominously. So that's cash, that's their wealth. If the government then borrow money from the bank, now if they borrow money from people, the workers who have £100 cash, if the workers were to buy government bond, then the workers would, say, give £10 of their cash to the government. The government would then, and the government would give a government bond, £10 to the workers. The government can then use that £10, so the workers now down to £90 cash. The government can then use that £10 cash to pay the soldiers, say for instance, and the consumers would then have £90 cash plus £10 that the soldiers have, and again they'd have £100 in total, and we'd be back at the market with the kind of the normal thing that we do, and the normal problems that causes. But if the government, this is where it's very interesting, if the government borrow money from the banking sector, what then happens is, how that works is, and banks like to lend money to the government. It's an easy earner, as they say. What they do is the bank here will buy government bond of £10, call it a GB for a government bond, and they will set up a current account for the government. To pay the government, they will give them cash. They will, and how that works is in the current account of the government, it'll be £10, and the government will have cash £10, which is kind of like that current account that they have at the bank, and they will have government debt, which are those bonds of £10. Now, if the government then uses that money to pay the soldiers, then what's happened is the consumers in total will have £110 to shop at the weekend, and the manufacturer can sell his £100 worth of stock for £110. He'll make £10 profit. We can make that 17 at the bond, but the general idea is he will then, the manufacturer will be able to sell all of his stock. Oh, let's make it nice. Let's make the bond £20, £20, £20, £20, and so at £1.20 each, there's £20 that paid the soldiers, etc. The workers have been paid £100, and there's £120 in the consumers' pockets to go and buy the £100 of stock at cost, which the manufacturer would like to sell at £120. And actually this time he will get £120 cash in as the manufacturer, and he will go to the £20 of that will be profit. He'll go to the bank, he'll be able to pay off his loan to the bank of £100, and the manufacturer's bank account at the end of the day will look like cash £20, profit £20, and for the first time so far we'll be able to, that these guys will be able to say, I've made profit of £20 and it's turned up in cash this time. This is for the system if you think of these grandiose buys, this will be like the system as a whole, manufacturers as a whole will actually have some cash. So the next week, if they do the cycle again and the government borrows another another £20, and another £20, another £20, the whole economy can go round. The manufacturer is very happy to keep on going. There's no recession because this guy every week next week he'll have accumulated cash of £40 and accumulated cash at bank and accumulated profit of £40. Now this is essentially how John Maynard Keynes, his plan to rescue the economy was for the government to not just spend money, which would be, I'll take money in taxation per se, although they will take money in taxation per se, that's not going to make any difference to anything. It's the extra bit the government are going to spend that they haven't got from taxation, but they've got from borrowing, and they've got that borrowing from the bank. Had they got the borrowing from the workers would have £20 less cash because they've just bought government bonds with it, and so there wouldn't be in total enough money to get the 120. But it's when they borrow the money from the banking system, that's when Keynesian economics, as it were, as it's grandiosely pumped up and called, will be able to show there's enough money, that they'll produce enough money for everybody to be happy. Manufacturers get their goods sold, workers keep their jobs, businesses end up with lots of cash, and everybody's happy. There's a bit of one of the things they always say about a Keynesian situation is it can lead to inflation, because what do these guys then do? What does business ultimately end up doing if they've got lots of profit and cash? Well, they pay it out in dividends to themselves, and then the workers see that there's cash in the bank, so they go, oi, I'll have a bit of that. Let's have instead of paying me £100, pay me £110. That you've got the cash, we do the work, etc. Prices go up. So there's a bit of that going on, or quite a lot of that going on. But one of the kind of like in the same way that once you've got all your fixed assets built, you kind of stop. Can government debt go on increasing forever and ever and ever? And there's problems with that. You've got to pay. Somebody's got to buy that debt, and then what a bank will say when it buys the debt from the government, in this case £20 a week, it wants some interest payment on that to look after itself. It's like, well, what's that going to be worth to me? I need some profit. Banks need a bit of profit as well to keep themselves going, and so the bank goes, well, I'll give me 1% or 2% or whatever. So in the first week, the government are paying £1 a week in interest to the bank. The second week, 2, next week 3, and the interest charges, they kind of build up as the debt builds up, and so more and more of the economy ends up getting charging interest, getting directed to the banking system on interest. So it's sort of like very similar to the fixed asset situation in a different way. It kind of looks like it works for a while. And a lot of the kind of financial system that we have, every time we try something, it's sort of like, oh, this is working very well, everybody's happy, and then bang, there's a problem with it and all falls down. And in none of these things have I said these workers are lazy or unionised or causing lots of trouble somehow or that. The manufacturer, he's not a bad manufacturer. I've said nothing about that his products may be brilliant or rubbish. There's nothing about him sort of doing anything bad or being even particularly greedy. I'm just looking at stripped all that away. The workers are fantastic. The manufacturers are brilliant. Everybody's doing wonderful produce. But you've got it looks like the only way the economy can work after you've built all your fixed assets is to have lots and lots of debt build up, government debt build up, which is a kind of future drain on future interest payments. John Maynard Keynes' famous response to that is, well, in the long term we're all dead. And of course Keynes is dead, but we're not. The next generation after them are now paying huge amounts on government debt. So sort of it's so far we've got little solutions to have an economy going round, but we are every single time it goes pop so far. So that's why we think we need something slightly better. And it goes pop, and nobody's doing anything bad or wrong. Even the government might be nice and good. It's just the way we've got the numbers set up. And I'm looking to change the way we set the numbers up.